Okay, so now we're going to look at some analysis to see how these chords work in context. This is from self-test 17-2, number 1. That is on page 54 in your book. So go ahead and flip to that. This is an excerpt of a chorale by Bach. Again, unfortunately, we can't listen to it with this recording, but for your homework, make sure to go online and listen to the recordings. All right, so first things first, we need to figure out what key we are probably in. If we look at the beginning, A, C, E, A, and look at the end, E, G sharp, B, we haven't learned modulations yet, so we're going to assume that we start on A and minor and end on E major. That gives us most likely the key of A minor. Okay? So A, C sharp, E, A is 1. We need to decide, are these non-chord tones or does our harmony change? B, D, E, and A. Is there any way that I can make those stack up into thirds? No. So we are going to call these passing tones because they both move in stepwise motion. Okay, then we get to our next chord, C, E, E, A. Same harmony, but now in first inversion. So I can just add a 6. Now we've got a B here. When we look at it, the B doesn't change any of the harmony. It's just another passing tone. Now when we look here, A, E, E, they're actually in unison if you notice, right? A, E, C, we're back in root position, so we'd say 5-3. And here this A is just a revoicing. It's not a non-chord tone because A is still in the chord. Then we get to E, B, A, B. All right, the note that doesn't make any sense right here is the A. E, B, G sharp, B. That makes sense. So we're going to call this A. What are we going to call this A? Right? It's a hangover. So let's deal with it in a second. Let's come back to our non-chord tone. Let's figure out what's going on here. E, G sharp, B is a major E chord, which is 5 in root position. So once we've determined that this is 5, what is the note, the non-chord tone that we know that has a preparation, held over note, and resolution? It's a suspension, right? And it resolves down by step the way it's supposed to. So we count above the root of the chord. In this case, it's the E. E to A is a 4th, resolves down to 3, so it's a 4-3 suspension. Okay? Now, in the key of A minor, C sharp is weird. We're not going to find C sharp or B flat. So this is our first indication that we have some chromatic harmony and possibly altered chords. Just by looking at it, they don't look like non-chord tones to me because they don't make a nice linear shape the way that we usually expect non-chord tones to. So let's see what happens when we stack these notes up. C sharp, B flat, G, and E. They stack in thirds by making C sharp the root. So it would be C sharp, E, G, B flat. So when we're talking about identifying chords, we have to figure out what quality is C sharp, E, G, B flat. C sharp, E, G is diminished. C sharp to B flat is diminished. So it's a fully diminished 7th chord. Okay? So now, since this is what we're studying, we're going to guess that this is some sort of 7 fully diminished 7th chord. Now, if we had to write out where this would resolve to, remember this is T, so it's going to go to Do, which is D. And then in this case, it does, D, F natural, A. So we have a E fully diminished, or I'm sorry, not an E, a C sharp fully diminished 7th chord. And then we have a D minor chord. That goes exactly the way you'd expect a leading tone chord to resolve. So all we need to do is figure out what D is in the key of A, B, C, D. It's 4. It's supposed to be minor. Everything makes sense. We can call this 7, diminished 7 of 4, and it's in root position. Okay, we get to our second to last chord. We get D sharp, F sharp, A, and C. When we reorganize them, D sharp, F sharp, A is a diminished chord. D sharp to C is a diminished 7th. So we have another fully diminished 7th chord. D sharp, diminished 7th. So if we weren't looking at the music here, where would we expect it to resolve? D sharp should resolve up a half step to become the leading tone for E. Okay? So it should resolve to an E chord, E, G sharp, B. It's exactly what we get. D sharp diminished 7th to E. So 7, fully diminished 7 to E. And our Roman numeral for E, we actually already had an E chord over here. It's 5. So we have a 7, fully diminished 7 of 5. What this does is it strengthens this half cadence. Tonicization makes this chord stronger. Okay? So once we figured out what of this was non-chord tones, what was altered chords, then everything fell into place. And if we had had some secondary dominants in there, we could have told them apart from the secondary leading tone chords because they would have been major, minor 7th chords. Okay? So your homework is going to be spelling, identification, and analysis, all 3 of the components that we've studied. Again, if you have any questions, you can email me, lcox@ecok.edu, and I will be checking my email regularly to answer your questions.